hold on, don't start that yet. I knew I would do it. God. I yanked the plug out.
Ready? Yes, sir. Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order for the Airport Advisory Board tonight. My name is Jeff Voigt, and Ben has asked me as the chairman of the County Board Airport Committee to chair the beginning of this meeting until the elections have taken place. And at that point, we'll turn over the committee for the operation of the meeting to the new chairman. And I'd ask everybody to please rise. There's a flag on the mantle over there, and we'll say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to thank everybody for being here tonight. I'd like to say a couple words to start with. We have a new board, we have a new manager, and we have citizens. We need to combine all those together, and we need to get some things done out here. The agenda, as you'll notice, has some items, especially under new business. It's just a guide. These are some things that the committee wanted to put on the table. They need to be prioritized, maybe committeeized, if you will. I don't think that's a word, committeeized, but we need to get at some of these things, and hopefully we'll have some good discussions about them tonight. So I'd like to have a roll call, Augie.
Voigt.
Here.
English.
Here.
Farnham.
Here.
Shiner.
Here.
Kessler.
Here.
Barkley.
Here.
Barrett.
Here. Everybody here tonight. We will move from the roll call to public comment. We will allow a 5-minute limit on comments tonight, so do we have any comment?
Please state your name.
Yeah, please state your name, that's all we need. Don't need any addresses or anything like that, so if there's anybody with some public comments, please.
My name's Kurt Allen. I'd like to welcome the new board. Hopefully things will go moving in the right direction. I know there's been a lot of changes recently. There's been some questions in regards to what role from the airport manager's position is going to be. I understand you're a flight instructor. Is that something that's going to be part of county operations to provide flight instruction, or is that something you're going to do on your own?
Sometimes I do on my own.
On your own?
Yes.
Okay. In regards to a recent FOIA that we did on an application for the airport manager, on this application it marks that you're currently certified as a flight instructor, is that correct?
Yes.
When's the last time you had your medical?
It's been years since I've had it.
Since 1997.
So you don't need one for a flight inspector.
You need one to fly.
You need one to fly, yes. As long as you're flying with a
And
pilot.
according to the FAA, you're not qualified as a flight instructor or pilot if you don't have your medical. The other thing that I found on here was a 100-hour inspection on flight school airplanes. How do you do that? You have to have an A&P license or an AI to do inspections. The FAA doesn't report that you have either of those credentials. Is that a lie on the application?
No, I worked with a gentleman that was an A&P, and he signed off the work, and
So
I was a helper.
He did
It was his signature that signed off.
100-hour inspection on flight school airplanes.
Yes.
That's a false statement in your application, sir. I think with credentials that people need for this position, I think they should be honest on an application. The FAA says that you're not certified for these credentials because you're out of your medical. And there is a box on here that specifically says, under all those credentials, and I quote, currently certified marks yes, currently certified on all of these you mark yes, and the other box is eligible to certification. The proper notation would have been eligible to certification. I've been an A&P mechanic since 1990, and if there's one thing that I won't put up with is somebody claiming to be working on airplanes when they don't carry the credentials to do it. That's all I have. And the board's welcome to keep a copy of this. You can confirm it from the FAA.
Other comments?
Yeah, my name is Robert Bogue. I've been to the airport before. And I wanted to comment on some of the advisory board history here at the Edgar County Airport and some of the events of the airport. Somebody keep time for me? The things that I remember most is the secret government accounts. They call them CDs. And everybody swears they don't exist, but I got some friends over here that say they do, and they've got proof they did exist, and that Jimmy Wells and Chris Patrick might even have had control of those accounts. Also wanted to mention the grant application. That's where there's supposed to be a 10,000 gallon avgas fuel tank out there. There's a shortage, so that's how you justify a 10,000 gallon Jet A fuel tank. And everybody knows that Jimmy lied on that application about the fuel tanks, and he lied about the 35 airplanes. I think anybody here, you look out the window, you see 35 airplanes, you'd be lucky to see one. More history on the Edgar County Airport and the advisory board. Rusty was harassed by the manager at the time. Even Chris Patrick, during one of his advisory board meetings, along with Jimmy Wells and a few others, managed to ban Ann Bogue, my son's wife, from breastfeeding her daughter. That was a complaint. Two people complained. One of them was Mr. Bristow. They also blocked the hangar so Rusty couldn't deliver his planes on time, and they tried to lock him from his business, and they refused to accept rental contracts, or payments, excuse me, rental payments. And the county board probably remembers directing Jimmy to do that. That's the history of the airport, that's the history of your manager, and that's the history of the advisory board. They moved their snowplow around in the hangar out there so many times nobody really did know where they thought they wanted it. Then demanded a new lease. They never gave him one after he spent hours and hours with county board members trying to do the right thing. Then there was an advisory board president, Donna Bennett, that was voted on and approved by members of the county board and all the other people involved. She was throwing Rusty's diplomas and certificates of recognition on the floor out here. And Carl, you were here when that happened. Didn't that happen? Mm-hmm. So let's not forget Mr. Patrick's attempt to squeeze the owner out of his November 229. It was a distressed airplane that was financed through his bank. And he tried to do that at the expense of his bank stockholders. That would be Mr. English. Then there's a Rusty's crash of November 229. That was the same plane everybody's concerned about, the same plane that Chris tried to purchase and have some activities done on it. Then there was a firebombing of 2 aircraft used extensively in Rusty's business. I mean, where else in the state of Illinois can you find something like that happening out here? Make no mistake. Firebombing was the work of local talent. It's funny how the Baron, which is the plane at the end of the hangar, didn't get any fire damage at all. And that was the junker that wasn't paying the rent. So, I don't know what you guys are going to do in the future, but you haven't got a very good past if you want to claim ownership to that. I want you to know that there is fraud in the Edgar County Airport application, grant fraud, and that we're working on that. Thank you.
Any further comments? Anybody in the audience, please? Mr. Patrick?
Chris Patrick, I just have to address the fact that, there again, Mr. Bogue brought my name up, and 99.9% of what he said is absolutely untrue. So much for that. I would request from the new members, personally, I don't know some of them. I would like to know a little bit more about them. If you would introduce them, Mr. Chairman, And if they could just give us a short, you know, their, not necessarily their credentials, but what kind of interest they have in aviation, what their past is in aviation. Just as a personal thing, I'd like to know a little bit more about them. That's all I have. Thank you.
Anybody? Oh, sorry, please, John.
John Kraft, I would like to reiterate that most of what Mr. Boak said is true, and I think we should listen to him.
Yes, Jimmy.
Well, as you guys well know, I've pretty well sat through this since the very beginning, and this is the first time I ever went in chimney wells. And I've never said a word. I think that a parent should never lose a sibling.
Did you
Because
lose a child?
it's a sad deal, and it's just not a good thing. I think sometimes it just causes you to go off the deep end, basically. But there's nothing, you said 99%, and maybe that's true, of what Rob Bogue said tonight's true. And it just breaks my heart to think that everybody's going through everything that they went through because of this accident. The accident, and I don't know whether anybody knows this or not, I'm not sure whether Rob Bogue knows this or not. But the day of the accident, Rusty came up here and he filled his airplane up. We went to at a meeting at the Creighton building, and he took off knowing that the airplane had a lame engine. When he took off, he knew that the wind was going to be to his tail, not to the nose. He didn't go down on runway 27 and take off. He didn't even go up on the end of runway 9 to take off, which is a no-no. He taxied right out here and turned right and took off. Two gentlemen were sitting there and watching him. The motor never come up on the left side. When that motor did, when he determined it wasn't going to come up, he pulled the throttle back on that one, was trying to take off on the right engine. He had the chance to abort at the runway, crosswind runway. He had a chance to abort at the taxiway on the other end. He was still full throttle on the right engine. And anybody that flies a 421 has got the experience that Rusty has. He knows that that airplane, if it ever gets in the air with the left engine down on it, it's going to start rolling over. It was still on the ground when he got to the grass. It was still on the ground when he got to the beans. When he got to the county road, he was still on the ground. And the county road catapulted him into the corn. And that was the worst thing that happened, because if it hadn't, it had went into the corn and it would have stopped the plane, but that's what got it into the air. And I know you probably haven't heard this, you haven't seen the tracks, but the tracks were out there the next morning after that crash. If Rusty had just pulled the throttle back, we wouldn't be having this conversation today. Thank you.
Any other comments, please? I would leave it to the individual board members. It's not customary to give a biography, but if you feel so disposed to say something about yourselves, I leave that to you.
I think we should.
Okay, that's fine.
Question, Chris asked?
We can, go ahead.
Well, I know Chris, you and I have never talked, but my name's Joe Shiner, and I'm a pilot. I've been for what, 4 years, 5 years, several years. My day job, I work over in Sullivan, Illinois, and what I do is I solve problems and fix things for our corporation. Flying is kind of a hobby for me, and that's about it. But I'd like to see the airport be successful and continue to grow. I think it's done a lot. I first met Rusty years ago when he was just first starting out, and I used to come out here to fly my remote control plane because it was open and there wasn't much traffic, and we had a lot of success, and I'd like to see us continue that.
Jake Barrett.
I'm Jake Barrett. I think most everybody here knows me. Been flying for 4 years. I think past few years this place has seen a lot of positive growth, and I'd like to at least maintain that, if not add to it. So that's what my MO on this board is.
This next is J.D. Kessler.
J.D. Kessler, born and raised in the area. I'm an A&P mechanic. I used to work out here from 82 to 83 full-time, and then went part-time when I got a job with the federal prison system. Moved away for several years with the government. Came back into the area in 2006. I currently work full-time with Vigo County Emergency Management Agency, and as I say, I'm an A&P mechanic, and just for full disclosure, have not practiced the rights and privileges thereof since 1997, when I retired from the Air Force, Air National Guard. I'm a private pilot. Full disclosure, do not have a medical. I have some heart issues that don't allow me to have a medical. So my goal here is to serve on the airport board and try to do anything we can to move this airport forward and make it a valuable asset for the community.
I think everybody, you're welcome to say something, but you're not exactly a newbie.
Well, Dale Barkley, for anybody that doesn't know, I have been a pilot since I was in college. I'm still a very low-time pilot, but of course, like everybody else, family gets in the way of those kind of things when you're young. But I do have, well, I'm airplane poor. I've got a plane here on the airport, and I've got an experimental that's still in phase 1 fly-off in Terre Haute. And so I have a real interest in this facility, making a go of it. I need it for, it's a hobby for me. I need a going facility here.
Thank you, Dale. Well, I think next we'll move into the election of the chairman of the advisory board. So at this point, I'd open nominations from the table here, from the other members. Yes, Dale.
I nominate Joe Shiner to serve as chairman of the airport advisory board.
Okay. Are there any other nominations for the advisory board chairmanship? None, and accept the motion to close nominations. J.D. moves. Jake seconds. All those in favor of closing the nomination signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All those in favor, therefore, of Joe Shiner becoming the airport advisory board chairman signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Joe, you've got her, bud.
Thanks, I think. So, do you want to go with the election of the vice chairman then? So I'm kind of new with this, so
He'll prompt you through.
guide me.
Oh, no, you say what you just said.
Yes.
So yes,
Need a-
nominations for vice chairman.
I'll nominate Jake Barrett to serve as vice chairman.
Guess you're right now.
Yeah, we're keeping this.
So with that, it's everybody.
Further nominations?
Further nominations?
Close nominations.
I guess we'll close that out. And all in favor?
Need a motion to close.
Oh, we need a motion. Oh, sorry.
You're fine.
A
Motion that we close nominations.
Thank you.
Second.
So, we what?
We vote on that now.
Okay, so now we want to vote for Jake for vice chair.
Now to close nominations.
Close nominations. Boy, there's a lot to this.
They'll get easy.
A vote to close nominations. Agree, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose, same. So
Now
that's
you're-
closed. Okay.
Now we vote for Jake.
Now we vote. Okay, so all those in favor of Jake for vice chairman, agree, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. So I guess that's closed.
That's it.
The secretary.
Then,
Secretary.
Mr. Chairman, that is optional. I put it on there. If you want to do that, I mean, there's nothing that says we have to. But
Yes. Are you going to be a regular fixture?
no,
So we probably need a recording secretary.
well, you
in
need
the
to come
future.
up with some plan. And what Augie and I talked about, if I may, is that the recorder is available, and then that could be taken down and taken care of at the clerk's office, and that way you know that your minutes are being recorded and saved, and there's no issues. Okay?
I think that sounds the easiest.
If we do, we really don't need a secretary, right?
Just somebody to make sure that's coming by, whether it's the airport manager or somebody designated when they come through town to get the recorder.
We're talking about a digital recorder, not the camera.
Right.
Then you can just record the meetings and we can put it on permanent file.
Yeah, and we'll leave it, period.
And if you find you need a physical secretary, you certainly have the option to do that.
Does
I
it
mean,
have-
I'd make a motion that in lieu of voting and electing a secretary by position, we utilize the equipment provided by the Mountain County to digitally record and turn it into the recorder's office.
I'll second that,
Does it have to be electronic county device, or can it be any device?
So is it something you can drop off with her?
You
That she
could,
can,
you could always, you could drop it off. I don't know what you're thinking about. I mean, you're thinking about a cell phone, you want to leave your cell phone with us?
No,
I mean, I don't know.
I have another
We wouldn't be able
electronic
to,
device.
sometimes we wouldn't be able to
Get
upload it just
Right.
right then and there. So if
Right.
you
No.
have another device,
Okay, well then we'll.
Either one, it doesn't matter.
yeah, as long as it's
Just
recorded.
worried about the logistics sometimes.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay.
So JD moved to forego electing a secretary. And Dale seconded that. Call the question. All those in favor, signify by aye. Opposed, same sign.
As long as he said. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, the next thing is the meeting schedule for 2014-2015. When the county board meets like the second Wednesday, is that correct?
It varies sometimes.
As a rule, yes, but depending upon the way that, what's going on, as a rule, that's,
I'm just trying to think that, should we have it kind of
In the-
before that?
I think in the past, the county board in general was the second Wednesday, and I think the past advisory board met on the second Tuesday, just like, or Monday, maybe it's a Monday.
Tuesday.
Was it Tuesday?
This Tuesday.
Basically right before the county board meeting.
Not always, but yes, but
Right.
didn't fall on the same week very often.
But I left it open. I mean, it's certainly up to the board how they want to handle it.
what was I mentioned
If
last
I
time?
could make a suggestion, like today is September the 2nd, first Tuesday of the month as you're doing, and I spoke to Jake about this. I don't generally get the reports until the 2nd or 3rd of the month. So being like this is the first Tuesday, the 2nd of the month, there would be no way I could get your reports done. Especially with bills today, they go out first.
But there wouldn't be an issue on the second week if we went to
No.
the second.
No, they wouldn't.
It also begs the question whether that's even an issue.
Yeah.
I mean, the bills don't necessarily have to be approved by this board. And that comes down to looking at the airport resolution and reviewing a document that was passed a number of years ago and see what you want to put as far as your imprint, the new board, as far as how you want to operate.
Okay.
Okay? So, I mean, the county board will approve your bills anyway. you're just sort of recommending them to them. The key thing is the communication and what you're doing as far as incurring those bills. That's where it comes in. They're gonna get paid. So also the time, it doesn't have to be at 6. I just picked this because Carl and I talked about it and we wanted to get going as quick as we could. That's the only reason why we picked tonight and the time. So it's totally up to what the 7 of us want to do.
I'm sorry, second Tuesdays at 6 are great for me.
Second Tuesday sounds good.
Township meetings, but that's just
What time?
7.
Yeah. Second Monday.
I've got the same problem on the second one.
Plus that's Monday night
Well,
football, you know, in the fall.
Actually,
Yeah.
I really
Oh,
don't,
hell.
I really don't, because they have 5 o'clock meetings, and they usually don't last over 30, 45 minutes, so I really don't have a problem.
So we could even make it 6:30.
So second time's kickoff.
You don't know.
The games don't get good.
Yeah. Second Monday, 6:30. Do we need to vote for this?
I think you ought to have something on the record that says at this point that's what you want to do. And direct the clerk to show when those are going to be for the rest of the year and whatever he thinks is appropriate.
Second Monday of each month, 6:30 at the airport, right?
Notice this says 2014, 2015. Do we want to do it maybe for 2014, see how it works? And then towards the end, 2 or 3 meetings, and after a while, if it doesn't work, we can change it without committing to the 2015.
I so move that we go the second Monday, 6:30 from now till December and meet at the airport.
Good idea.
Then the dates would be 13 October, 10 November, 8 December.
Okay.
It's fine.
We've got a motion on the floor. Now we need a second.
I'll second.
There. All those in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Same. Alright, so now is the new business and the mowing plan and setbacks. Who can tell us about what the detail of that is?
Well, there is no mowing plan. Okay, you just mow. Okay. One of the things that you should all think you need to study this. I'll pass these around. This is from the state, and it describes in our engineers what we are required to do as far as setbacks off the runway. I think you already have this, and it has the map in the back. And I'm not sure we can adequately discuss it tonight, other than to say that currently we're, and Dale, correct me if I'm wrong, we're running about 150 feet from the center line both ways.
Yeah,
So 75 feet either side of the line, center line?
no,
No, okay.
no.
What are we, 150 feet either side, yes. And what they basically want us to do is run it up to 612 feet. Okay, so 306 feet each way. And I think we need to look at that. Maybe assign a committee, come up with a plan, because it does affect number 2 on this, or B, which is the farm leases. And the last meeting that we had, the committee of the county board met with all of the relevant farmers that have leases with us. And this is definitely going to affect how we deal with them, how we deal with the mowing in the future, how we look at everything as far as how we're going to operate the runways safely and in accordance with how the FAA and Malachnik want us to run. So that almost makes the point where maybe we need to get together later on this month again to look at this a couple of these issues. That's totally up to you, but once you guys have had a chance to digest it, ask questions, so that we can really discuss it. Dale, you have stuff to add to what I've just said?
No, it's a serious reduction in farmable acres for the airport, which translates into serious reduction in income for the county. And a whack on the two farmers doing it too. So it's one of those things you hate to ask too many questions, but you also, I don't think the county and the airport can be too far out of compliance because of liability issues. And these are guidelines that are changing. These rules have been around for years and years. They're in there.
And I draw your attention to the page 1 of 3 at the bottom where it says Joe. This is from Malaknik himself, interpreting how and saying, you know, we're sorry we haven't had an opportunity to really take a look at these issues at various airports, but this is what the nuts and bolts of it are, okay? So, you know, obviously, you know, we're going to have to make some readjustments, but maybe we can come up with some positive things out of it instead of just nothing but negative. We can, you know, adjust our relationships with the farmers to their benefit and ours, come up with a mowing plan where we're not running around mowing everything all the time, every week. And because it's going to add possibly as much as 50 more acres to mowing, and we just can't sustain 150 acres of mowing all the time. So there has to be some way to look at it and come up with a plan. Mr. Chairman, I've talked too much.
I think we definitely have a lot to digest there, so.
But in the meeting that we had here, a couple weeks ago with the tenants, we're going to have to soon, around the 1st of October, have a decision made, because if we're going to have to put it in grass and possibly wheat for this fall, you know, you run for after the 1st, you're going to have it planted by the 1st to the middle of October. You know, if that's, once the crops are out, you know, if that's the way we're going to go. So, I mean, we can't wait till like our October meeting to have discussion.
No,
we're probably going to have another meeting later this month.
And include the, you know, Brad and the Dyerses
right.
to get their, you know, and we're going to have, that's going to be tougher because here in a couple of weeks, I'm sure that they're going to be in the fields too. So it may be catch as catch can. Yeah. And maybe we catch a bad day where they can't be in the field, or adjust it in the morning when the frost is hitting. I don't know. There has to be some way to work it out so everybody has input on it.
Don't talk about frost.
Yeah, heavy dew on them.
I did. I'm in it 6 weeks from now, or 8 weeks. I'm sorry. Brad's going to kill me.
Yeah, I think, why can't we just look at getting something together and maybe next Tuesday have a discussion on that topic?
And it doesn't have to be everybody. I mean, it could be a smaller group that would make a recommendation, and ultimately it would be a recommendation to the board.
Yeah.
The county board, yeah.
But can we just see if everybody could come Tuesday, and if you can't, you can. I think you said you have a meeting. Or with another day.
You're talking next week?
Yeah.
That'd be the 3rd.
No, this is the 1st. But as Carl said, we need to have something before October, and so sounds like some urgencies involved.
Maybe a couple of you could come out and meet with Brad and Dyerses, and before a meeting, and kind of get some, you know, like a brain.
See what they'd be happy with entertaining.
Right.
Or something that works.
You know, and then you could get everybody together in a week or two, because I don't think you're going to be in the fields in probably 2 weeks, so there's still a little bit of time. It's just a suggestion. And
No,
then any
I-
other issues you wanna deal with here too.
Yeah, I mean, just skimming this, it talks about low crop soybeans in certain areas and corn further out.
Yeah, you're looking at 500 feet
Yeah, there's some options
of
there.
grass and then.
But that's just a quick skim, so.
Yeah, you guys did it. And there's some bigger maps that Dale can get you, we can get them from the highway department that'll make it a lot easier for you to, if Dale be good to run out there and get them out to everybody.
Next Monday, can people make it? Dale, Dale suggested next Monday.
Next Monday?
Oh, okay. Whatever everybody wants to do.
Unless we do 8 o'clock, or would you do?
Well, we also ought to check with Dyers and Brad to see if they can make it, unless you wanna do it on your own. It's fine, Brad?
Jerry.
Okay. So we're gonna do next Monday night then?
Do 6:30? So we have to do an agenda in that, for that as well, right? We wanna have one,
Augie will guide you through that, okay?
so that'll be me.
Pretty good like the secretary.
It's sounding better all the time.
Are you available? Jerry, are you available?
Yes.
It's Monday at 6:30.
Yes.
Monday or Tuesday?
Oh,
Can I inject something?
Yes.
I got a phone call today from Joe Worley, and he said he'd be here tomorrow, 10:30. And he's bringing a couple gentlemen from the Illinois Department of Transportation. We'll be looking over a situation on trucks at 10:30 in the morning. He just called me today and said,
Insight after they're here and on what.
I told him I'd meet with him and we'd walk the place over. And he said he'd bring out his wheel and make a few comments, you know, on what we should do. Okay. So maybe
We'll have
I'll get a report from him too to.
Can you be,
I
can
would
you,
like to, and
Yeah.
maybe.
It's 10:30
Brad, I mean, we might
Yeah.
not have enough vehicle space to.
In the morning here at
Drive around a
10:30,
little
so
bit.
we can
yeah,
get
if
from
you
here.
could get a hold of Jared or whatever, I mean, that'd be great too.
However, not
That's fine.
guessing at what we can and can't
That's
do.
fine, that'd be great, but we can't, remember, we can't have too many of us here. What do you guys? Proper notice.
But he just called today and wanted to know if I'd be here at 10:30. I told him I would be, so.
So Brad will be here. Who's gonna get a hold of Jared?
Brad,
I'll text him.
Brad, okay.
and then Jake will be here,
And Jake will be,
and
okay.
then Jared. And that's plenty, we get too many people out here,
And there'll be 3 of them, I guess, or it's looking the place over.
I still think we should be able to take them.
Okay. 4 against 3.
All right. And I'll get with you to publish an agenda for Monday's meeting at 6:30 so that we can talk further about this plan and what we have to do to comply. It sounds like this is something fairly new. This is dated 2012.
Well,
Some of that's proposed, if you read it
Yeah,
carefully.
and there's guidance words and lots of waffle words here.
There's another email correspondence with IDOT Aviation fellow
Right.
recently that is more
specific, that's the
follow-up.
last 3 pages.
Yeah, okay, all right. I didn't follow.
Yeah, they're attached.
Yeah.
There's no sense in hashing over
So, yeah,
how come,
Right, well, we got
whatever.
the top brass coming looking.
Right, we're gonna know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, that's,
Okay. The main hangar, I guess, is the next topic. Do I need to do anything there?
You want to say something about farm leases?
Well, that's gonna tie, the farm leases is tied into the setbacks. Actually, it should have been one, the A and B are just basically one unit. I mean, there are some decisions that have to be made, but on the leases, but I don't think we can make them until we know what we're dealing with. Okay, and that's,
what's left to farm.
well, let's keep it, try to be positive, Dale.
No,
Okay.
well,
All right?
Yeah, I mean, we have to be be positive, but I mean, we have to remember it's an airport with farm ground, not farm ground with an airport.
That's,
So on the main hangar, there's 3 subheadings here: security, handling of utilities, and energy audit. And I guess I'm not sure if that tells me enough about what we're talking about.
Okay, security, there are cameras that are available to put out here, so the leasee needs to be asked where he wants cameras, and we need to put, I think there's 4 or 5 cameras available to put out here. There's more than
not
that?
double that.
Okay, anyway, they're digital, it's state of the art, and they're already they're bought through another fund other than the airport fund, so they're available to the airport. So I put it on here so you know that needs to be dealt with.
Okay.
The next item is the handling of the utilities. We have, Dale, do you want to describe what we've done with the electricity so far?
Well, we split off the electricity that goes into the main hangar and put a separate meter that is sub-fed off the total airport meter. And they will pay what that meter rolls up. It'll be calculated as a percentage of the total, and they will pay.
That needs to be
Yes.
set up and
Yeah.
set up by the, and started
Yes, I
started
thought
doing
that,
that.
but, well, they've been such a small amount of usage, I don't
Right.
know where the meters roll hardly any or not.
But we need to get that,
Yeah.
that's something we need to get going along with the propane. The tenant is responsible for the propane, so
Yeah.
he needs to be contacted.
And that's on the lease.
Yeah,
Right,
it's-
and it's
they
in
will
the lease.
provide their own LP gas.
So that needs to be accomplished. Those are jobs that need to be done.
Does the airport still own or have the right to use 25% of that main hangar?
No.
No.
It's all his.
And the rent dollars reflect it.
Okay.
And then the last item, the energy audit, which I will text or email to the chairman for distribution, but here's what we have. And that's not probably a subject to be gotten into in great detail tonight, but we had an energy audit done by the University of Illinois, which is the first step in making us eligible for grants. And they will help us when grants become available, write them if we want to identify. For example, the main hangar doors, there's 3 of them. You throw a cat through them. They're working, but that's it. So we need to look at how we can merge the energy grant into maybe helping us upgrade that particular part of the community. Right. So that's what we have there. There's some energy coupons already that we've earned that can be used. And so somebody needs to start diving into that when some of these other issues are handled, so that we're not losing out on something that we may be eligible for.
Absolutely.
Okay?
They not only did the building, but the runway lights, they just done everything.
Yeah.
In the whole,
I was just
Right.
highlighting the
Right.
hangar doors.
so I think all that stuff is.
It takes quite a while to sit down and read it.
But I can email that to you, and then
Please.
I think one of the things we need to do is make sure before we leave here tonight that Augie has all the email addresses, so we can save paper and we can start communicating with each other effectively that way. So,
Yeah.
no offense, Carl.
I have a bunch of stamps though, Carl.
Well, it is what it is. We just need to. Does that kind of set up what?
I think that's great. So we would table the main hangar discussion.
Well, that's up to you. I'm just saying that.
Sounds like we've got a lot already here on the plate. Maybe it'd be a good idea. Table it. Do I need a motion for that?
No.
Let's just table that. And then the next one is the T hangar. And again, I'm not sure I understand reskinning of the doors and post-repair schedule. Is this a post, like a post, or
There's a
after
couple-
the fact?
There's a couple of galvanized doors out there that won't full paint well, so it's just discussed, but as Jeff brought up, that's a cosmetic thing, and I think that could probably be put on the back burner. The posts, however, are not as much of a,
It's a post. This is
it's
what
a
we talked
post,
about a
it's the
year or
post on
so.
the ground. I don't know if you've seen some of the ones in this original hangar, but there's about 50% of them left at the ground level.
They're the
Yeah.
infrastructure that
Yeah.
hold the hangar doors,
Yeah.
so they're critical. And they need to be dealt with before they deal with us.
Have we gotten quotes to
No,
there?
we were, I haven't happened. We've asked a couple of contractors, they've come out and looked at them, and because of the way they're designed and some of the equipment and apparatus on them have passed. But, for example, they've mentioned, who's down in your land? Who's the lumberyard there? Kirshner's has a crew that does that kind of thing. We haven't gotten them out there, but I mean, there are companies that do that. And therefore, it's kind of like drywall. If you do it all the time, you can do it. And if you have the equipment, but it's going to take specialized equipment to take the weight off the doors and do the things that need to be done. But we've got to have some idea of what we're talking about dollar-wise also.
Right. So, how do we go about getting quotes? Is that something the airport manager can do?
Ask people to come and look, as far as I know. They're not expending any money, so.
Do we need to vote to offer, would you bid it out? Is that a big enough job, or?
We don't even know that yet.
Yeah, we gotta get an idea what the cost is.
We recommend to look at the perma columns, which are a concrete post that will say to the existing wood post, you know, they'll cut out the bad, and that's a pretty permanent fix compared to putting another wood one in the ground and running into this.
Or putting brackets on them, which is.
Yeah, I don't
that's
know if
just-
that's.
I mean, it's fine. I mean, it
It'll get
does.
you a little farther and be cheaper, but it's not the,
Can you work with Jerry then?
you know, see what I can do. We have an ad for perma column. They maybe have a list of certified
Would
installers.
you like a concrete chimney around the?
It's just a
the
solid
post to sit in?
concrete post, and they have embedded a steel bracket on top that's 4x4, 8x8, whatever your post is, and then that wood post will bolt to that wood plate, or that metal plate on top of the concrete post. So a lot of the new pole barns are going to.
That sounds pretty good.
So I captured it, Jake will work with Jerry on getting some proposals. And the table and reskinning the doors is not urgent. And then the next one, E, is the airport resolution review recommendations.
Here, that's the current, this is just a copy of it, the inside one, but this was what was passed and how the operation of the airport has been conducted at this point. We've talked, that came up, and the board decided to let the airport committee take a look at that, and see how they wanted to proceed, if they wanted to make any changes, additions, corrections to that. Is that not right, Dale?
Well, yeah.
So that's something else that I think is gonna take some forethought, some studying. I mean, it's not something that you can just pick up, read it, and go, oh, of course. I mean, it's gonna take some looking at and figuring out where, and it can always be changed. It should be a living document. It hasn't been touched since '71 that I'm aware of, so it's, and that you were able to find, right, Augie? You couldn't find anything else?
I could find.
Right. So, obviously, things need to be changed on it occasionally and when it's necessary, but we just thought that the board ought to take a look at that and look how it's operating and see if anyone wants to make any adjustments.
So how about we put that on a future meeting agenda? Report back?
And we could even go in October or.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we have to consider is the terms, and I know that they're for terms here, we need to make those definite and live by those.
And you were, and Augie can provide that for you, you were appointed to staggering terms. Okay?
That's what we
So
need to
the
know.
chairman was, yeah, and we can get that to you once we have it, if you weren't already apprised of that.
So that's something we have to get to. So we'll review that in a future meeting. And the next is manager's report.
I don't have a whole lot to report, except I walked around and found some things wrong with the buildings and things like this. I wanted to make a note of and report to the committee so they could evaluate it and maybe they could come up with a solution. Some of the things that I've straightened up here when they lost the big hangar by renting it out, so we had to move all our equipment over. We've been busy doing that. We got everything out of the hangar over to our little maintenance shop on the south end of the far hangar. And then in here we moved in the Coke machine, which is kind of noisy, but at least it's out of there and in here. And we got a refrigerator. I brought my TV from home, so that's mine, didn't cost anything. I bought a microwave and a toaster. We have coffee here in the morning if anybody wants to join us for coffee and any kind of comments, any kind of criticism. We hope it's constructive criticism that anybody has if they come here. I don't want anybody here to be one of the spectators. I'd rather from be a precipitator, you know, to get in close and get involved with some of this to help the airport grow. And we tried to clean up around here. One day we washed the windows, run the vacuum cleaners. I put new toilet seats on the toilets. I mean, we've knocked ourselves out. I've lost 10 pounds in a month trying to chase after Dave. He's a slave driver, but he keeps me busy. But we've tried to keep mowing, but it seems like it rains about every other day. So we've mowed the lawn here 2 or 3 times and mowed the runway here, and now it's still growing high on the east end that needs mowed. It hasn't died all summer. It just stayed green and growing. And you can just stand there and watch it grow, it seems like. But it's kind of discouraging when we got so much. We're mowing about 100 acres. He has to mow all the way to the highway down here on Route 1. So if anybody, you know, has some spare time and not do anything and you want to hang out at the airport, we could put you to work sometimes. I want to do that to help out a little bit. But I know that, you know, that's the 4-letter word, work. But it'd sure be appreciated. Now, by looking around, I saw where the ice has come down off the roof and it's banged into the guttering and pulled all the nails out. The gutters broke loose on this side, and on the other side it's got holes in it, drip, drip, drip on the sidewalks. It makes icy condition in the wintertime when it freezes over on that side. So I had a gentleman to come out and give me a quote on some new guttering and downspouts. I have here, I can present it to the, or give it to the board, and they can kind of look it over and see what they think and look at the guttering. But Dave said it's about 20 years old, so I said, well, it's about time to replace the guttering. But there's a guy from Charleston come out, and we can get anybody else if someone else wants to look at it. But it's expensive, but I think we need new guttering on the main building.
Could it
And
just be refastened and maybe put some anti-ice?
well, they could do that, but I think the nails all pulled out. Maybe they could put some long screws in, something like that. Or, I know that if I tie the nails in, they'll pull right back out.
Can I make a suggestion here? Maybe since you're out going to be looking at the runway with some other folks, maybe you can take a few minutes and take a look at some of these stuff. We can put it on the agenda. There is a local guy that lives about, where does John Tingley lives? Yeah, he lives down on one of the farm roads, so he's about 4 miles from here. So we've got somebody here in the county that does that, and he's licensed.
That's good, because this guy is commercial, but he's high. I thought $1,700
John's
was a lot of
commercial
money.
too. He's bidding on the nursing home
Well,
right
we need
now.
several bids on it at that value, because $1,700 is a lot of money.
Well,
If you're spending it every 20 years, if they last 20 years, it's
and
worth
this
it.
next thing coming up.
Okay, now, Stan McIntosh, he flies out of here, and the gentleman here keeps it plane over here and to the past. But he noticed that in between the hangars, there's like a sinkhole out here in the asphalt, right next to the drain. So as much rain as we have, we think that the water's washing all the sand down that drain, and it's kind of eroding away, and now you've got a hole started in the asphalt, and you can see down underneath the grading part, and the concrete is sinking down around there. There's some concrete that's sunk down about an inch, inch and a half. I'll pass this around if anybody wants to take a look at it. With the concrete sinking down, there's some grading there that left the grading up, and the concrete sank away from the grading. Now there's a sharp edge on the grading. If someone taxis through that, you could cut a nose wheel, because your nose tire comes right down the center, and that's the center part between the two hangers, and people's taxiing out of there all the time. And Jake has his plan down there.
Yeah, on the far one, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And, it's not gonna let the rain get in it when there's a lip like that on it.
I know, it sticks
So
up a
it's just
little bit.
compounding.
So there's a
situation.
problem there, and that may have to all be jackhammered out and redone. The concrete poured back to the proper level and compacted again. It may have never been compacted like sand under there, it's eroded out. So it is a problem that has to be taken care of, and I think when water gets in there now and stands there and freezes, it's going to get worse this way. So it's a little problem we got there, but it can be repaired, but I don't know how costly it's going to be. We may have to get some estimates on that.
Can you look at that with
Yeah, pretty
We're
familiar
checking
with
it out.
that.
You see that? But it is, we put a cone out there, and I want to tell all the pilots that keep planes here that taxi up and down between there to be aware, to kind of taxi over 2 feet over to one side so their wheels won't contact that grating to cut a tire with the sharp edges on it, sticking up. We've got quite a bit going on. We've mowed around all the little runway lights. Now I want to go through, and there's some of them that the wires are chewed off on the other end. I don't know if the coyotes get in there and chew on the rubber, or mice or something, but here's the wires chewed all the way in two, right where it comes out of the ground. The rubber part is chewed all the way down to the metal, to the wire, and some of them is broke completely off, so that's a taxiway light that's not working. So I've called the electrician that works on the lights, and he said he'd get right back with us and come out and repair some of those. So
that's an emergency deal, isn't it?
Yeah, and
on the,
you
it should be
very
right.
careful messing with that, because that's some weird electrician.
Well, this guy from Champaign is the one that installed it originally and stuff like that, does maintenance on it. He's the one supposed to work on the lights. But as I can say, there's a lot to look at. Every time you walk around here, you can find something else wrong, it seems like. So it's just been, it's an ongoing thing. It's an ongoing thing. You have to do your maintenance and stay with it. But it's costly too. Each little thing you do, it's an arm and a leg every time we do something. As far as what money we have to put out. And this one quote I got on the gutter was $1,700, so maybe we can beat that price.
How was the activity on crop dusting this summer?
At one time we had 5 airplanes here operating out here, and then it dropped down to 3 and then down to 1 for a long time, but they did several acres. I mean, at one time they said, I asked them how many acres they had, and they, well, we got 25,000 acres to do, something like this. So that was just one outfit, just mills, I think, quite a bit. So, and there was three different groups in here that sprayed, but they were really active there for about 3 weeks. When they was trying to spray for the blight, when they had that wet rain, the blight in the corn, and I know they, but some of them, I got a couple complaints where they took off and it was kind of low going out of here. You know, there was just a treetop level, so that's one thing we have to tell them to stay a little bit higher, because we don't want to panic any of the horses. We got horses and cattle right over here. You could fly low right over them and they would run right through the fence, or they'd panic or something like that. So that's something to think about. We got to tell them that we still have to live with the neighbors around here. You just can't take off and buzz right across their house. With the crop dusters, but they've used a lot of fuel, but they brought up some of their fuel with them because they use so much. And they could probably get by it cheaper someplace else. Probably get by, you know, bringing in 1,000 gallons at a time. But some bought off of us. So we had the Terre Helicopters come in. We had 2 helicopters, and they bought fuel off of us. And they came through with their tankers, and they buy, you know, 200 gallons at a time. Take out the fuel and load the helicopters right to the fuel. So we sold some fuel to the Terre helicopters.
We still get a percentage of fuel. How's that getting policed? Or is it on our system, or sticking tanks, or?
It's mostly been honor system, but they come in and give us a check for it or something. I forget, it's a 15 cents or so a gallon or something that was talked about,
We used to have.
to bring their own fuel.
Used to have like a report on fuel sales, how much we sold and such, and the hangar rentals, you know, are we full or?
That could be done. I mean, that's.
Do you know where we stand now as far as hangar rentals?
All the hangars are rented. We got, I think there's 16 of them, and they're all full. On the T hangars, we don't have any more to rent. If there was one empty over there, number 16, but it rented with the large hangar, didn't it? So Nails has got the
Yeah,
one.
they pay.
That's the last one. That's the only one that's empty, and he's got that one. The rest are full. So they're all rented.
Okay, and do we know fuel sales?
I don't know the fuel sales, but I know how much fuel's in there. I stuck the tanks today, and I know how many gallons is there right now.
But if that's something that the board wants to hear that, you know, that,
If they
you
do.
know, between him
But if not,
and Lisa can, you know, come
Yeah,
up with
Lisa-
the fuel sales.
At least, yeah, like we just don't.
I've got a
We don't
stack
ticket
of them
by
on the
ticket.
desk that need to be approved anyway, from the last one to current.
I just know that was part of the old
Right.
program, and I always thought it was
It
interesting.
wasn't put on the agenda, so that's why he did not get them. And since there were so many, I didn't want to make the meeting any longer than necessary.
But they're all individual sales, and she's got a big pile of tickets in her, so. I
But
haven't
yeah,
had to go through for the last month. I haven't had.
going forward, we can kind of report.
Yeah, we can do that.
People like to know, I always like to listen to it here, so.
I just know right now how many gallons is in each tank. We're gonna do that each month, so it's gonna get it. And we've got shipments in. We ordered a shipment that came in, 100 little lead. So we got a shipment of the Jet A in the past month. So the bills are in there on how many gallons we bought. We have those.
So that completes the agenda for today. The only thing that's not here that I just wanted to add is something that I mentioned in the past to this group, and I think we should live up to the same thing as the Open Meetings Act. I did some research on that, and as an advisory board, we're required to complete that. So if you know us new guys, I did mine today at lunch, and then I forgot the certificate, but I assume we give it to you, Augie. I encourage all you guys to do it. If you have problems or questions, let me know. I can bring my laptop out and you can go through it. It takes 35, 40 minutes. And it's quite interesting. You can learn quite a bit from it. We don't know how, it doesn't talk about when to vote or what to vote on and all that yet, but I'll learn that. But,
I think you have 30 days to.
90.
90?
So then when you're done, you give a certificate and you're supposed to turn it into the body. So I'm assuming August.
He keeps it on file.
So I encourage everybody to do that. And just keep everything as above board as we can and open, I think is important. And the last thing I'm going to talk about, I don't, it's not on the agenda, so it's something to think about, but this is something that Albert's mentioned in the past, is do we want to have at the end of this meeting a public discussion or session? Yeah, well, we had a public comment at the beginning, but Albert's mentioned that the stuff that we all talked about for the last hour and 5 minutes or hour, maybe is something that somebody could provide some kind of good insight to say, hey, but here's my opinion or my thought. And I just thought when Albert suggested that months ago, it was a good idea.
And even just build the agenda line.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. If we agree, I'll put that on the next meeting agenda.
Mr. Chairman?
And- Sorry, yes, sir.
If I may have some input.
Please.
After 25 years plus out here and on the advisory board, there was always a time we took comments from the operators out here. And I listened this evening and you did cover something that was somewhat, I just wondered when, just wondered if you're going to do something like that where you have input from the operators or the renters. And I just wondered what your time schedule was for fixing the cracks on the taxi list. just about to lose that window.
Well, I think that's a good point. We have some information. This is, of course, the first I heard of the cracks. I don't know about the rest of the guys.
Yeah, they're showing up. Well,
Jake,
if you drove in here, it's about the same when we're up there. And it all needs, there's cracks everywhere.
Their entrance road and their taxiways are in
Oh, yeah.
dire need.
I definitely, is that something the county could do?
Yes.
I mean, they have the
They have
equipment.
the equipment, I don't know if they have the jurisdiction or the.
That would be something that you could ask tomorrow morning. And see if we can design.
Is Route 16, is that county or state? State, you know, they fill a lot of tracks, the state.
We've got a hot box out here, and that's something we've done in the summertime. On moderately warm days, you have to have temperature warm enough that the hot box to stay hot. And we go out and work those cracks and put fill in them. And the taxiway usually gets done every year, and I don't think it's been done now in the last 2 years. It's going to be
That's something that you and Dave did in the past, wasn't it?
Yeah, and Bobby and I did it the last 2 years. Dave and I did it before Bobby was here. It's, and I would caution people on using a hot box because it can be dangerous. You just want to be careful to keep the temperature. The temperature's critical.
What kind of time frame are you talking, Chris? That, I mean, obviously when it gets November cold, you can do it, but
When you get into September and October, you've lost your window.
is there a outside temperature that you're, you know, once it gets below 50?
Just like Jimmy said, the warmer the better.
For filling the cracks in the.
Yes. You notice the state does here this summer.
Right.
It's just, needs to be done, guys. And if you can't get the manpower to do it, you need to get somebody to come in and do it. Because if those cracks are 2 inches wide now, they go through another winter and you're gonna, and that crack sealer is not cheap.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You fill the cracks for the winter and you seal coat for the summer. And I think I'll get a hold of Aaron Lawson, see what he can tell us from the county. Is that the right person to talk to, you think?
Yes.
I'll talk to him. I'll send him an email tonight and see what he can do. And yeah, the earlier the better. I don't know what the county uses. We'll have to see. I know our budget's as late as December. It's gotta be dry. Takes more propane.
There's everything out.
Lots of propane. Okay, I'll get a hold of Aaron. See what we can do. Thank you. So I'll add to the agenda next time as well for the end of the meeting comments. Thank you, Albert. I was paying attention one night. So with that, now I know we vote to close, right? Okay, we have a motion. Sorry.
Just want to ask one thing on budget for the airport. How's the budget handled there? Is that a county board function? Is it a known set budget by the county board, or how does that work?
Have you submitted a budget yet?
Yes, it had to be submitted 22nd, before the 22nd of August. So
It's submitted.
for next year, for 15.
Right. And that includes all the maintenance things that
This is what it talks
talked
about. It doesn't have to look like that, but that's what it looks like. That's the current year budget. And that's right up to 31st of August.
Yeah, it's submitted to us. There was a budget committee on the county board in November. The county board passed the budget.
When you say so?
It has to be done by the 1st of November, like
Yeah.
2 weeks before the end of the budget year.
If we pass it, well, we put it on display once, and then we pass it 15 days later. There still could be some changes made, and there's still some time.
just from kind of being the new guy looking in from the outside and now being on the inside with y'all. I think there are a lot of things that need to be accomplished, and some of them in a pretty short amount of time. And the budget's going to be the limiting factor, I think, on a lot of these issues. The maintenance stuff that needs to be done real quick, the crack fill, the physical plant that needs to have this, some pretty expensive work done. The drainage area out there that's popping up. I don't own an airplane out here, but I know I'd be a salty dog if failure to maintain the facility caused damage to my airplane. I just think it's something we need to look at hard and heavy.
So the sinking category or whatever problem we've got in posts are temporary, yes.
I'd make a motion. Meeting adjourned.
Second.
Opposed, the same.
And make a comment period.
I don't know. I don't think so.
I have to study his Robert Rules thing too. I've got a book. Okay. Our clown meetings, when we have those, are a little less formal. Edgar County's even less formal.